SWBA students will be able to interpret and solve for slope and use it to write equations. Section 4.4. Okay? Slope is the rate of change along the y-axis to the change along the x-axis between any 2 points in a line. The equation for slope is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Mr. Costa, why is m used for slope? Well, great question, math students. Thank you for asking, okay? M is used instead of s because s is already used for side length, and m is actually Latin. I don't remember actually what the word is for Latin. I don't want to say like something about modular or something like that, but it has to do with incline and slope. But it's a Latin word, hence why it's spelled differently than our word for slope, which is slope. What? I know. I learned it like twice and then I forgot it though. I can't remember every math detail. Yeah.
Or just look it up.
Graphing wise, we know it as rise over run. Give me a raise of hands if this sounds a little familiar to you.
Nope.
It should sound familiar to literally every single person in here, especially if I had you before, because I know I taught you it. But anyway, so if you've had me, you've for sure seen this before. And if you had Algebra 1 or Geometry before or Math Topics before, you've seen this. Nice Boba Fett socks. Nice Boba Fett socks. Those are amazing. He is the best Star Wars character.
No, Jar Jar
What?
Binks.
I said you said that. Everybody looked at my feet.
Well, they were cool.
Jar Jar Binks is the best character.
He's up there. Okay. Slope. There are 4 types of slope. Lines can have a positive slope. Now, a line with a positive slope is going to look like it's going uphill when you're looking at it from left to right, okay? In Western culture here in America, we read left to right. We write left to right. We go left to right, okay? If you're going left to right, this line looks like it's going uphill, positive slope for it's going uphill, okay?
Who reads right to left though?
All right, lines can also have a negative slope. If we notice, this negative slope looks like it's going what? Downhill. Does it make sense that positive would go up, negative would go down? I mean, to me that makes sense. Positive going up, negative going down. Okay, am I crazy in that?
No.
Okay, you guys responded awfully like unconfident in that and like slowly.
Friday, we're tired.
Yeah, we're tired. Friday, you should be hyped. Okay.
No, I'm hyped.
So,
Yeah, Friday I woke up 6:30.
horizontal lines have a slope of. Well, let's think about it this way. Rise over run. Lana, put it away. Rise over run. The rise, is there any rise between any 2 points on this line on the bottom left? No, so the rise is 0, and the run could be literally any number between those lines, right? But what's 0 divided by any other number?
0.
So horizontal lines have a slope of 0.
Undefined is next.
Okay? We're going to get there in a moment, but no blurting, please, and thank you, okay? So, if we look at this line, okay, another way I like to remember it is what's the second letter of horizontal? O. And what does O kind of look like?
0.
0. Hence it has a slope of 0. Vertical lines have a, there is a rise between these points, but it could be any number, but there is no run. There's no left to right between those any 2 points on a vertical line, is there? So it's dividing by 0. Can you divide by 0?
You broke math.
Nope, you break math when you do. It's literally called undefined because you can't do it. So vertical lines have an undefined slope, which you can abbreviate as UND. Undefined. You literally cannot define what it is to divide by 0. You can't do it. It doesn't exist. It breaks math. So, here's 2 ways I remember this. The V in vertical kind of looks like what letter? Kind of looks like a U. A V kind of looks like a U, especially if your handwriting's bad. Okay? Now, could I also make horizontal line? Let's look at this horizontal line. Can I make this into a Z for 0? Can I make the vertical line into a U for undefined? Yes. Big brain ways to remember these. Whatever clicks is what I want you to remember. Continuing on. Does everyone have this? Okay, we're on the bottom or the middle right. We're going to find the slope between these 2 points. So we can do this in a couple different ways. Can you wait like a minute? Can you wait till we do this first example? Okay, we can do this two different ways. We can do it mathematically or graphically. Graphically means dealing with a graph. Mathematically means we're doing math. Okay, so let's start with graphically, and then we'll do mathematically to show that they're exactly the same. If I start at one point and I count to the other point, I'm going up how many? 3. And so it's positive because I'm going up. And I go right how many? 5. So my slope is the rise over the run. So I rose 3 and I ran 5. So my slope is 3 over 5. Now let's say I went the other direction. Let's say I went from the other point and I went down 3. Did I go positive 3 or negative 3? Negative 3 because I went down. If I'm going left 5, is that positive or negative?
This still works.
Negative 5, because then I get m is negative 3 over negative 5. But what is a negative divided by a negative? A positive. So it's still the exact same slope. But if you start at one point, you have to continue going from that point. I can't go up 3 and then say I'm going to go left 5. You can't combine those two. Now let's say I did it mathematically, okay? Mathematically, I would put m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I subtract the y's, I subtract the x's. So m is equal to, well, the second y is 4 minus the first y, 1, over the second x, 3, minus the first x, negative 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 minus a negative 2, 2 negatives become a positive. 3 plus 2 is 5. Is 3 over 5 the same answer? Hey, Mr. Kossel, what if we reversed it? Great question, math students. Thank you for asking that one. Okay, let's say we did m is equal to 1 minus 4. So I flip the top around. I flip the bottom around as well. Negative 2 minus 3. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Negative divided by negative is still a positive. So we get the same answer. Mr. Kossel, what if we did mismatching order? Great question, math students. Thank you for asking. So m is equal to 1 minus 4 on the top. But instead of doing I do the 1 first, I'm going to do the 3 first on the bottom. I'm going to do 3 minus negative 2, which turns into addition. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. Is negative 3 over 5 the same answer?
No.
Hex no.
Ruined it.
So, if you start with one point first, you have to continue with that point first on the bottom. Does that make sense? If you start from one point, you have to continue from that point. So if I start from one point with the x or the y, I have to start with that point from the x as well. If I start with 4, I have to start with 3 on the bottom. Start with 1 on the top, I have to start with negative 2 on the bottom. All right, I want you guys to try the second example on your own.
We don't have the graph.
Yeah, we
That's
don't.
great.
Yeah,
This-
you can see it there.
There you can.
No,
You
we do
totally have the graph.
not. No,
We're on
we
the
don't.
floor.
We don't.
No, we don't.
Look
You guys have
at
any
it.
quick?
Not be done, but that's okay. So, we can do rise or run, we can do graphically, either way can work, or we can do mathematically. Let's say we fall negative 1, we run how many? 6. Slope is negative 1 over 6. If you do it mathematically, you should get the same thing. Mr. Kossel, my negative's on the bottom. That's okay.
Plus, I didn't get a negative.
The negative on the bottom is the same thing. The negative out in front, same thing. Whether you have the negative on the top, the bottom, or out in front, it's the same thing. Either the fraction is negative or not, okay? Dylan, did you do it graphically or mathematically?
No, I did. I got it correct. I just didn't put the negative.
That means you didn't get it correct.
No, what?
If you didn't put the negative, you didn't get it right.
What do you mean?
Because it's a negative slope.
Oh. Oh.
And you can even tell, does it look like this one's going uphill or downhill?
Down.
Downhill. That's the way to check. Oh, it should be negative. I must have done something wrong.
Can you get a slope and then they meet and then
Where like a line has multiple slopes?
yeah, like where it comes down and meet. And then,
Oh, 2 lines.
yeah, like rays.
Oh, sure.
I mean, would that work for this?
We're not going to have that.
Okay.
Bottom left. We're going to find slope of these lines. This first one on the bottom left. London. What's the slope of this line, London? 0. How do you know that? Doesn't go up or down. It's a horizontal line. Horizontal lines. H-O, horizontal O. Or you can draw a Z out of this. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. You can also do it mathematically and say, okay, well, M, 2 minus 2 over 4 minus 1 or 1 minus 4. 0 over 3 or negative 3. Well, that's 0. Questions on that one? Gregory.
No.
Okay, Greg, you want to answer the next one on what the slope of this line is?
It's 1/0.
Which is, can we divide by 0?
Yeah, 0. Wait, oh, no.
Broke math.
You break math, so we call it
Undefined.
undefined. Our slope is undefined, okay? You can call the slope 3 or negative 3 over 0, but it's still undefined. So if you did it mathematically, you should end up getting 2 minus negative 1, which ends up dealing with positive, over 4 minus 4, which gives us 3 over 0, which is undefined. You can also make a U out of this. Go with like Soldier Boy. U, okay? Remember, vertical lines kind of looks like a U as well. Question on this at all? All right, bottom right. Can we do it between 2 points like this?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Quentin, help me set this first one up.
What's this one actually asking?
Find the slope between these 2 points.
What's 2?
The ones on the bottom right of your paper.
I'll tell you what.
So it's like 2 separate problems.
Oh, you didn't put numbers, so we didn't.
Okay, Quentin.
Alright, it's 7.
Okay, 5 minus 7 on the top. What's going to be the bottom then?
2 minus 4.
Very good. Now, guys, did Quentin have to put 5 first on the top?
No.
No, but because he did, what did he have to put first on the bottom? 2. Very good. Now, if he put 7 first on the top, what would he have had to put first on the bottom? 4. And both are acceptable answers. Okay, both are acceptable. We'll get the same answer. What is 5 minus 7? Negative 2. What is 2 minus 4? Negative 2. What is negative 2 divided by negative 2? 1. 1 over 1 or just 1? Either way. Questions on that?
Mr. Coffee, that answer don't
Yes.
I have it.
In a moment.
No.
Let's look at number, or the second one, excuse me, not number, the other one. Okay? Between P and Q. Between P and Q. Tristan, can I have you help me set this one up? Okay? Is that going on the top or the bottom? What? Bottom, because those are the x values. What's going on the top then? Very good. And Tristan, you did a really good job of making sure that because you put the negative 1 first on the bottom, the negative 4 had to go first on the top.
That's a negative 4? Positive 4.
Oh, positive 4, excuse me, positive 4. Now on the top, 4 minus negative 2, 2 negatives in a row, change it to a positive. 4 plus 2 is?
6.
Bottom, negative 1 minus 3 more,
Negative 4.
negative 4. What is 6 divided by negative 4? We always reduce.
Negative 1.5.
2 and
Okay, we can also just keep it as an improper fraction. Sometimes that's actually more helpful for
3
these.
and 2.
Negative 3 over 2. Does it matter whether the negative's on the top or the bottom or out in front?
No.
Super does not.
All you have to do is make negative.
As long as there's a negative somewhere, only one negative that somewhere, then you're good. Questions on that? Let's continue on. Parallel lines. Parallel lines have what kind of slopes? Does anyone know?
Dang, stop.
They have the
Stop.
exact same slope. Let's think about it this way, guys. If we have 2 parallel lines, we know they never intersect, correct? So, if I am just slightly have different slopes here, just slightly different slopes. Those are like super close, right? But they're not exactly the same slope. Are these eventually going to intersect? Like, they're eventually going to touch.
Whoa. You cheated.
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, they're eventually going to touch. But if I make the slopes the exact same, and I can even go as far as to mark them just to make sure, are they going to touch?
No.
No, okay. So for parallel lines, they have to have the exact same slope because if they're not increasing at the same rate, they won't be. They will eventually touch. Excuse me, Tyler.
Can you fix your...
Oh yes, they got messed up when I erased.
Thank you.
Okay. Perpendicular lines have what we call opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. Above opposite, I want you guys to put plus minus. Okay. They switch signs. So if one slope is positive, the other slope is negative. Okay. Reciprocal. What's that mean? Flip it. So like 1 over 5 and 5 over 1 are reciprocals of each other. Might be a good idea to write that in. That way you guys know. Okay, reciprocal. Or maybe even put flip there. Okay, so we have the opposite sign and we flip it for perpendicular lines. Perpendicular, remember, they intersect to form right angles.
Wait, what was the problem last year with calling it reciprocal?
There wasn't a problem.
I'm thinking of another.
Yeah, I don't mind people calling it that. Continuing on. So let's practice the reciprocal, the perpendicular slopes. Okay. So given the slope of a line, what? Yes. Given the slope of a line M, determine the slope of a line N, another line, so that they're perpendicular. So if this slope M is equal to 7/8, let me change colors there to make it more stark of a difference. What would the slope, the M of my perpendicular line? Notice I should put M perpendicular to my slope of my perpendicular line. What would that be, Dylan? Close.
Negative 8 over there.
Negative. There needs to be a negative somewhere on that fraction. I don't care where, but somewhere on that fraction. Okay? So the first one is positive, so the other one, the perpendicular slope, has to be negative. And we flip it. Okay, well, if my slope is negative 5, what would be my perpendicular slope? Positive 1/5. Very good, Elizabeth. Negative 5 is secretly over what number right now? 1.
What's that little like line thing right there?
This?
Yeah.
That's just saying the slope of my perpendicular line. That's the symbol for perpendicular. So I'm just clarifying, hey, the M is my original slope. The M with the perpendicular line, that's my perpendicular slope. That's my slope of the perpendicular line. It's just a way to clarify. Yeah, great question. And I intentionally write it kind of like below the M, just so that way we don't think it's anything else. Gregory.
Undefined.
Very good. This other one's 0, literally over any other number. We don't care. So the perpendicular slope would be some number over 0, which is undefined. It'd be some number over 0, which is undefined.
Awesome, these two.
Now let's think about this one as a little bit more here, okay? If I have a slope of 0, that's a horizontal line. If I have a slope that's undefined, what kind of a line is that?
Vertical.
Are vertical and horizontal lines, are those perpendicular? 10 times out of 10. And that's mathematical reason as to why.
Vertical or horizontal, any lines with anything else is all perpendicular.
Questions with that one? All right, determine whether these should be lines. I know they say raised, but they should be lines. Let me fix that. Okay, determine whether lines A, B, and C, D are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Well, if they're parallel, what kind of slopes will they have?
Same.
Same. If they're perpendicular, what kind of slopes will they have?
Reciprocal.
Reciprocal. And if they're neither, they're going to have what kind of slope?
Neither.
Any other slope. Literally any other combination. Whether either they're the exact same, they're opposite reciprocal, or they're going to have any other slope. Okay? So, how could I figure out whether lines A and B and line C or D are these? I have to know the slopes of the lines. Well, how can I know the slope of the M of line AB? Notice I put like M of perpendicular earlier. I'm going to put M of line AB. How can I know the slope of line AB? Elizabeth. Okay, rise or run. Between what points? A and B. I need to find the slope between lines A and B. Can someone help me find the slopes of line A and B? Tyler, thank you.
Y minus y over x minus x.
Yep. So what would I write?
Minus 13, negative 11 minus 14.
Okay, I can do 0 minus 13 over negative 11 minus 14. Now, if you have yours flipped in the other direction with the 13 first and the 14 first, that's perfectly okay as well. 0 minus 13 is negative 13. Negative 11 minus 14 is negative 25. Haha. A negative divided by a negative is a positive 13 over 25. So the slope of line AB is positive 13 over 25. Now, I need to find the slope of line CD.
The same thing.
Okay, Ryan, can you help me find the slope of line CD?
Yep. Take 7 minus 5,
Minus what kind of 5?
negative,
You gotta be careful, yep. Over.
negative 3 minus negative 4.
Very good. Now on the top, -7 or 7 minus -5 becomes +5, so 12. Bottom, -3 minus -4 becomes +4, so it becomes a +1. So our slope is 12 over 1, or just 12. Are these slopes the same?
No.
So they're not parallel. Are these opposite reciprocals?
No, they're neither.
They're not opposite reciprocals. They're not the same numbers flipped around in the opposite sign. They are neither. So these slopes, these lines, are not parallel and they're not perpendicular. They just intersect in some non-special way. Questions on that one? Yes.
I like when you buy a normal thing off the
Yes. Can I get the non-special today?
No.
Excuse me, sir. What are your non-specials?
Everything we have on the menu. Can I get your paper that something with your non-specials on?
Yes. If they're on a separate paper, are they really special? Are they non-special anymore, or does that make them special?
What are you talking about? Wait.
If they're on a paper with the non-specials, is it non-special anymore, or is it now special because they have their own paper? Okay.
Well, it depends.
Anyway, there's a TV show, That 70s Show, and Ashton Kutcher's character, Kelso, one time says, I'm going to have a store, and I'm going to make everything a special. So that way when someone comes in and says, hey, Kelso, what's the special? I'll say, everything. Anyway, determine whether lines A and B and line C or D are parallel, perpendicular, or neither on the second problem. So we need to find the slopes of these. Okay? Bailey, I believe in you to help me find the slope of line AB.
Oh, stretching.
Okay, I know. Help me find the slope of line AB on the second equation. Second problem, excuse me, not equation.
On the top, 2 and 0.
I'm going to disagree with you. We're going to put y's or x's on the top.
2 0 be on the bottom.
I'm at 2 and -1.
Okay, am I going to do 2 minus -1 or -1 minus 2?
2 minus -1.
Cool, 2 minus -1. What goes on the bottom then, Bailey?
-2 and 0.
Okay, -2 minus 0. Now the top, 2 minus -1, 2 plus a +1. 2 plus 1 is 3. -2 minus 0 is just -2. 3 over -2 is my slope. The slope of line CD, Kev Dog, I believe in you. Help me out.
2 minus 4.
Where's that going, top or bottom? I disagree. Bottom. It's the other one then, right? The X is going on the bottom.
3 minus
Okay? Very good. You did a good job making sure everything was lined up, though. Okay? 3 minus -1 turns into adding. Gregory? Are you trying to give me my final answer?
I can.
What was that? What did you have your hand up for?
I wouldn't use that.
Oh, okay. Yes, good luck. 2 minus -4, adding. What is 2 plus 4? 6. Does 4 over 6 reduce? To what? 2 over 3. Are these slopes the same? So not parallel. Are these opposite reciprocals? Yeah, so what are these lines? Perpendicular. You can do the symbol, you can write it out, you can say perp.
They're perfect.
Questions on that?
What?
Alrighty, let's continue on. Okay. Graph a line that satisfies the condition. So we want a line that contains point B. It goes through point B at -4, 2. We want it to be parallel to line FG, with F being at 0, -3, and G being at 4, -2. So we know we want a certain point on this line. What point do we want on the line we want to graph? It says it contains a point. What point does it contain? B, -4, 2. So our first step is going to be to graph -4, 2 and call it point B. We want that line. That's the line we want. All right, that's the point we want on this line. Do we know any other points on this line right now?
No.
No, but we do know it's parallel to a line, to another line, and we know it has those points. What do you know about parallel lines? Same what?
They never touch.
They never touch and they have the same
Slow.
slope. Okay? Well, we need if we found the slope between points F and G, would we know the slope of the line we want to graph? I think so. So we can find the slopes of points F and G two ways. You can graph it and do rise over run, or you can do mathematically like we just did, whichever one you prefer. Raise your hand if you'd rather do it graphically. Hands down, raise your hand if you'd rather do it mathematically. Okay, graphically, barely one, but we'll try it. We'll do graphically first, and we'll do it mathematically.
Two or three people who voted total.
So, graphically, we go up 1, and we go run of 4. So the slope is 1 over 4. That means the parallel slope, just like how we can have perpendicular slope, parallel slope would be the exact same 1 over 4. So, I will go up 1 and over 4 for my other points since they're also parallel. If I go up 1 and over 4, I have my new line. If I connect those points. Mathematically, what I could have done was I could say the slope of line FG is equal to... Presley, do you want to put -2 or -3 first? Okay, so let's do -3 minus -2 over 0 minus 4. Well, negative turns into a plus. -3 plus 2 is -1, and 0 minus 4 is -4, which is positive 1 over 4. Did we get the same slope either way? Yeah, because then we know, oh, the parallel slope is also 1 over 4 because the parallel lines have the same exact slope. So I go from my B, which we know is on the line we want to graph, go up 1 over 4. Now, we wanted to graph a line that contained point B and was parallel to line FG. Did we do that? Did we graph a line that contained point B and is parallel to line FG? Yes, this purple line contains point B and is parallel to line FG. So our purple line is our answer. The orange line is just work to get there. You don't even need the orange line graphed if you don't want to. Questions on that? Yes, I can leave it up for a moment. Oh, well, we'll see. Is your last name Trumpet? Oh.
I just wanted to
I'm being a silly goose. Gregory, you should stand in a corner if you're cold. Because it's 90 degrees. Alright, what's up? Yes, good luck.
Tell me that corner's 9 degrees and actually, like, get out of the, straight. Straight edge. I can't think of what they're called.
Right angle. Protractor?
No.
Okay. Graph the line that satisfies the condition. It contains point B, but now this time instead of parallel, it is perpendicular to line FG. So instead of having the same slope as line FG, it's going to have the opposite reciprocal slope of line FG. But what's our first step going to be again? Graphing point B. -3, 0. Because we want that line. Now we need the slope of line FG. Raise your hand if you'd rather find the slope of line FG graphically or mathematically. Raise your hand for graphically. Hands down, raise your hand for mathematically. Oh, dead even will do mathematically. Alrighty. So, slope of line FG. Landon, help me set this one up for a slope.
So y minus y over x minus x.
Yep.
So do 4 minus -2
Alright.
over -2 minus 2.
Good catch there. Yep. So 4 minus -2 turns into a plus positive 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. -2 minus 2 is -4. What's that reduced to? 3 over 2, but it's negative, right? So what would the perpendicular slope be? 2 over 3, and it's positive. So from my point B, from my point B, I can go up 2 and to the right 3 because it's positive. And I can graph this line. Let me see if I can do that better. My goodness, I keep getting slightly off. Called it good. And that's my line. That is my answer. Now if I wanted to, or if I did it graphically, and I graphed the other points, negative 2, 4, point F, and 2, negative 2, G. Okay, and I found this slope this way. My goodness. There we go. Do we notice that these two lines are perpendicular? They should be. Okay, and that could be a way you can check your answer if you want, but you actually don't need the orange there. That makes sense? You only need the line B and the other point we don't know the name of. Questions on that? Alrighty. Everyone stand up. Alright. We're going to practice writing equations of a line. We're going to practice writing equations of a line. Be careful how hard you lean up against the flag, okay? Alright. So, we're going to practice writing equations of a line. Hence it says equation of a line, okay? So, we have two different forms we're going to use. Point slope and slope intercept. Okay? Hey, coach. Write an equation in slope intercept form given the following information. So, M is our slope. M's our slope.
Is it?
It is. B is what we call our y-intercept. Okay? So, M is slope. B is y-intercept. Might be helpful to write that down.
I don't miss these at all.
Well, it didn't go away. Might be able to write this down. M is your slope. B is your y-intercept. Yes, Gregory?
So could you put like M for the top one and then B for the slope intercept?
Yeah, so you can actually do the M and the B, plug them in here, because we want an equation in slope-intercept form. So we take what we know, and we plug in for what we know. Y equals mx plus b is our slope-intercept form. We know the m is negative 4, so y equals negative 4x minus 12. I just substituted the m and the b. I just substituted the m and the b. Okay, but we're inside.
I don't want to be inside. Oh, don't do it.
You're gonna make me close the blinds.
Okay,
I can still see the outside.
Dylan. Okay. Keep it up and you lose Thanksgiving. Okay. Y equals negative 4x minus 12. Okay. Y equals negative 4x minus 12. That's an equation in slope-intercept form. We did what it asked.
What are you gonna hit that one?
Now, on this one, we're given the slope, but what else are we given? Are we given the y-intercept, the b?
Yeah. No.
We're given the x and y, which is a? It's a point.
Wow.
So what form do you think we're going to start with this time? Point, slope. You're given a point, you're given a slope, point, slope. Okay, here's how this one works. We still want it to be in slope-intercept. Point slope form is like a vehicle you get in, and you use it to get to slope-intercept form. Okay? So we get in point slope form, and we drive it over to get into slope-intercept. Now, with point slope form, we have a couple extra x's and y's. Well, if we wanted to end in slope-intercept, hey Maggie, okay, we want it to have y and x still there. So we're going to leave regular y and regular x there. What we are going to change is y1 is going to be the y value from the point, which is 5 in this case. So y minus 5 will equal 9, our m, in parentheses, x minus 0. So I take this point slope form, I take the y minus the y value equals the slope times x minus the x value. I plug in what I don't know. And now I'm going to get in this vehicle and I'm going to take it over to slope-intercept form by solving for y. My first step would be to distribute. Y minus 5 is equal to 9 times x is 9x, and 9 times 0 is 0. Do I have to write plus or minus 0? No! So y minus 5 is equal to 9x. Now I add by 5. Y equals 9x plus 5. Does this now look more like slope-intercept form?
Yep.
I think it does. I think it looks more like y equals mx plus b now. So we wrote an equation in slope-intercept form like it asked. So if we're given the y-intercept, we're like, oh, bet. But sometimes we're given the point instead. Gregory,
Don't you have to combine them both?
what do you mean combine them both?
Y equals negative 4x minus 12 with y equals 9x.
That's an entirely different thing of solving a system of two equations, which we did in Algebra 1. I'm happy you remember that was a thing. We're not doing that now. Great question, okay? Continuing on, we're going to practice a couple more of these. So, write an equation in slope-intercept form. We're given the what and the what?
We're given the point.
We're given a point and we're given the... So we're going to use slope-intercept?
No, we're doing
No,
point.
point slope. You're given a point and a slope, so you're going to use point slope. Does that make sense? You're given point slope, we're going to use point slope, okay? Any of you guys ever played Assassin's Creed 3?
No.
Okay, there was this big meme on the internet for a while when Assassin's Creed 3 came out, where there's two parts to the rope dart, the rope and the dart. And the guy says it like all serious, and you're like, okay, well, duh. Like, of course, there's going to be two parts to the rope dart, the rope and the dart, okay? Well, we have point slope, so we're going to use point slope, okay? Same idea.
Really?
Jaw to jaw. All right. Can somebody help me set this one up in point slope form by chance? Elizabeth, I choose you.
Okay.
Yes.
Y minus 6 equals 2 parentheses x minus 4 parentheses.
Flawless, okay? Y minus the y value is equal to slope m, 2, times x minus the x value. Okay, flawless. We're keeping the y's together, we're keeping the x's together, and the m is still over with the x's like it'll end up. Now we distribute and add. Y minus 6 is equal to 2 times x, which is 2x. 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8. Now we add. Y equals 2x minus 2. We now have this in slope-intercept form. So we got it in point slope form, which is our vehicle. We drove it over to slope-intercept form. Sorry. Let me get my lifted truck, okay? That's actually a motorcycle. Sorry. Let me get my space engine, my spaceship, like Tyler's brother has, okay?
No one didn't have to.
I'm not kidding.
It's possible. I've seen the one.
Anyway,
Halfway lifted.
yes, yee. Is it halfway? Neat.
Yeah, he's going to put the rear lift on it tonight.
That's funny. Any questions on this, or anyone still need this? Continuing on. Oh, bruh.
Brother? Rubber rack, the next one counts.
Good? Gucci, okay? Rubber ragging, next one kind of sketch. Why is this next one kind of sketch? You're given 2 points. Are you given any slope? Can we find a slope? We can find a slope between 2 points, can't we?
Those aren't 2 points.
Those aren't 2 points. Are these not 2 points? These aren't 2 points? They are 2 points. Can we find the slope between 2 points?
Yes.
So if we found the slope, would we then have the slope and the point
Yes.
to do point slope? So we have to find the slope. We have one extra step.
No!
Oh, thank you.
You're going to trip me.
I could die. Okay,
Oh, no. Oh, no. You
so slope between these 2 points.
You see what happened?
Your brakes are out.
What would I do? What would I do to find the slope?
Your ABS is on.
Okay, so it would be 9 minus 3.
I'm pretty sure Steve has insurance. I'm pretty sure he'll know.
Over negative 7 minus 5. Negative 5.
Nailed it. 9 minus 3 is 6. Negative 7 plus a positive 5. Negative 2. 6 over negative 2? What kind? Negative 3. Now, we have the m and the point, so now we can do point slope, right? Now, wait, which point do we use? You pick. Which one would you rather use? The first or the second one? Why the second?
Smaller number.
Smaller numbers? Sounds good to me.
Third. Smaller number.
Somebody help me plug this one in. Why? Gillen.
Nope.
Okay, bailed. Okay.
Oh, wait, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
Y minus 5
Nope.
Or 3, sorry.
Yep.
Equals,
Yep.
you see,
Confusion started.
X minus negative, or no, X minus negative 5, yeah.
You forgot the negative 3.
Or the negative 3 for the slope. Y minus 3 is equal to negative 3 times the quantity of x minus negative 5. Now, we have 2 steps here. We have to distribute and add. Now, before we distribute and add, x minus a negative 5 plus a positive 5. Now we distribute. Y minus 3 equals negative 3x minus 15, because negative 3 times a positive 5 is a negative 15. Add by 3. Y equals negative 3x minus 12. We got an equation in slope and intercept form like we wanted. Questions.
Why'd my dad leave?
Ah, okay.
I can make a copy.
Yep.
Actions in charge, they're pretty good. Just gotta keep it here.
I'll crack some skulls. Okay? We're going to go down to this example, okay? This is the middle right example. Okay? Everyone's on the middle right example. Does that make sense? Middle right example. Which example are we on? Middle right. Nailed it, okay?
Middle, what middle?
Equation of a line that goes through, there's the top, middle, and the bottom, buddy, okay? Equation that goes through 1, 2, and is perpendicular to this line. So we want to go through this point, but do we know the slope?
No.
But we know it's perpendicular to this line. So do we know the slope of this line? What's the slope of this line? 2, because it's with the x. So this slope is 2, but do we want the same slope? We want the, what kind of slope?
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular. What's the perpendicular slope to 2?
1. Negative 1/2.
Negative 1 over 2, because 2 is equal over 1, right?
Yes.
So it's negative 1 over 2. Now, do we have the point and the slope?
I guess.
Well, dub, we do.
What's down?
Wubble dub.
Oh.
Y minus 2 is equal to negative 1/2 times x minus 1. Let's throw this baby in a point slope form and get in our vehicle and drive over to slope intercept form.
Well, if you run over any children. He almost turned
Only 2.
himself. Yay!
Okay? Distribute negative 1/2 times x. Negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times negative 1. Positive 1/2. Add 2. Y equals negative 1/2 x. What is 1/2 plus 2?
2.5.
2.5, or 5 over 2 if you want, or 2.5.
I'm thinking he was referencing
Hey, what do you say after you burp, Dylan?
Excuse me.
That's better. Okay, so the reason this one was different, guys. Recap. Not no cap, but recap. Okay, we went through a point and wanted to be perpendicular to this line. Well, we had the point, but we needed the slope. So, if we had the slope of this line, we knew the slope of the perpendicular line was the opposite reciprocal, like we did earlier when we graphed. Then we used that slope, negative 1 over 2, and our point, and point slope form, got on it, drove over to slope intercept. Questions on that? Now, if these lines were parallel, would I have used a different slope or would I have used the same slope? If these lines were parallel, would I have used the same slope or different slope? Same slope, okay? These parallel lines have the same slope.